Hello, everybody, and welcome once more to, well, it's Live Out Loud is the name of our show today here on the Creative Coaching Cafe. And there's one question that I'm really wondering about, and that is, what on earth does that even mean? So we've got a very, very interesting guest today who's going to tell us about that. And first of all, I'm going to bring in my co-host, if she's there, if she's not too hot in Paris today. Are you there, Marie-Louise?
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing? Well, now, first
Sam?
question. I'm fine. First, very important question. Do you have an interesting mug today, like me?
I don't know if it's an interesting mug, but I have a mug.
Okay, mine is Barcelona, and yours is Mellow Cup. Mellow Cup.
Mellow Cup.
All right. If I were to ask you, Marie-Louise, what do you think it means when the title of this show is Live Out Loud?
Oh my God. I don't know. It opens possibilities.
For me, it sounds like living in the present moment, you know, to the maximum, something like that.
Absolutely.
All right, well, let's see what our
I'm very excited.
Yeah, me too. Now, our special guest looks something like, let me see if I can, now, if I'm going to get rid of you, Marie-Louise, just for a second. Here she is. No, this isn't working. I'm not going to, okay, forget this. Here we go. Let's bring her on. Let's bring her on.
Ta-da!
No. Yeah, this is what I look like.
I'm going to get the hang of this technology once in a while.
I'm already like, my armpits are all pinchy just thinking of everything you just did. Like, oh my God, I wouldn't know how to do that.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you how to do lots of things wrong if you like.
Huh?
This is Kath. I can tell you how to do lots of things wrong if you like on a live show. Now, this is Karen DiMarco. And she is a rather special, wonderful coach, but there's a lot more to her story than that. And my first question is going to be, live out loud. What does that mean?
It means like carrying around cups like this.
Oh, that's amazing. That's the best luck we've ever had on the show.
Wow.
It's wearing a Guns N' Roses t-shirt while wearing a Kuan Yin medallion.
Okay. I would have a Black Sabbath t-shirt if I still had one that wasn't more holes than t-shirt.
Actually,
Right,
the cup and the Gun and the Roses t-shirt goes pretty well together. Yeah. See? Yeah.
So,
What a match.
Karen, you're based in LA, is that right? Los Angeles?
Yeah, Los Angeles area.
Okay.
Like north, just call me Magellan. North, come on, you can do it, Carrie, you can do it. North, west.
Well, northeast would be the Pacific Ocean, probably. So, no.
Yeah.
No. North, just north.
Tell us the town would be better, maybe.
West, like, well, Thousand Oaks. It's
Thousand Oaks. Okay.
It's LA suburbia.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
I used to live in Santa Monica for a while. Not long, but.
I have never been to America. I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
Okay.
Come and visit. Well, I mean, to give you an idea, we lived in this place that was closer to LA for 2 years. And then the first night we moved to this place, we all piled in the family truckster the next morning and went to Starbucks. And I'm like, look, there's people. They're outside. They're outside and they're riding bikes and strolling their strollers. I mean, you get a little bit closer to LA, just like people are either in the houses or their cars.
Yeah.
If you're outside walking the street, you feel like you need to jog or you'll be arrested or something.
Yeah,
I've heard that you get picked up if you're not in the car. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
You very weird. I mean, what is she doing?
Yeah. Here, it's normal to enjoy the outdoors. Yeah.
Good.
So Karen, I took the name of this show off something I found on one of your websites, Live Out Loud. Can you just explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, well, that's actually the inside voice out loud. It's a version of on thenakedlady.com, which is my blog. It's kind of born from a place of hiding. You know, we hide behind the masks and armor that we think are protecting ourselves or protecting the world, you know, protecting ourselves from exposing who we really are, or protecting the world from, you know, the basket case we are. And we tend to live our lives closed off, you know, like behind these masks and armor and don't really.
Small.
Yeah. And it's usually, you know, hopefully around the middle of our lives that those masks and armor start to get heavy. And it's like, it's not only exhausting, but it starts to cause health problems, like things like cognitive dissonance, for example. Have you ever heard that term? That's
Explain it.
Cognitive dissonance is like friction in the nervous system. It's like when your outward behaviors don't match your internal beliefs and values, right? So when you're saying no, when you mean yes, when you're saying no to something you really want to do because, oh, I shouldn't, you know, I've got responsibilities, I can't do that. Or when you're saying yes to somebody who asked you to do something, oh, let's go to lunch. Yeah, great, let's go to lunch. But you don't really want to. It actually creates friction in the nervous system and inflammation in the body. So live out loud is just, you know, be who you are, come what may. Yeah, people might leave you, people might peel off, but what I've found in my life is what a blessing. You know?
And you feel much better with yourself.
You feel free.
Well, can I give you an example, and you can tell me if I'm living out loud or not. When I was a little kid at school, I was about 11 or 12, and I was in an art lesson, and the teacher asked us to write to draw a Coke can, and it was supposed to be in pencil, so grey. And I had these brand new pens, lots of different colours, and I did it in lots of different colours, and I proudly showed it to her. And she hit me around the head. It was the time when you could, you idiots! I told you to do it in pencil. And it sort of killed I killed whatever was about to be born.
Enthusiasm.
Then I went into computing, and then I wandered around the world for a while, and I taught English for years. And just recently, I've started painting again, and I feel alive again. Would that be living out loud? Like finding what you would love to have done when you were a kid before the system crushed it out of you?
Yeah, I mean, we grow up, you know, as soon as we're of the age that we're old enough to understand language, and somebody says, don't laugh, that's not funny. Or, you know, that's not ladylike. Or clean your plate. Clean your plate. But I'm not hungry anymore. Clean your plate, people are starving. Oh, okay.
The Africans, right?
Yeah, you'll save kids starving around the world if you clean your plate. Got it. Or you shouldn't have, or you shouldn't have seconds, right? Or like, but these messages that well-meaning adults, society, clergy, you know, whatever, because that's the messages that they gave them. Then they when we get them perpetuated onto us, and we think, oh, who I am isn't okay. I don't know any better. And we lose touch with who we are. And then we have to, you know, you should see my history on Amazon. I mean, then we have to buy books to learn how to do this and how to do that, because we've lost touch with our internal GPS, because it's just covered over with all these messages that just ain't true.
Listen, I'm just going to acknowledge some people who are saying hello. Katrina is saying hello. Hi, Katrina.
Hi.
Ask questions, guys. Okay, we've got someone who's going to break a lot of stuff down for us tonight. So ask any questions you like. Vladimir, hi. We've got Tinkuta. Hello. Happy Creative Tuesday. Happy Creative Tuesday to you, Tinkuta. She was our very first guest, and she is also in the kind of health diet sphere, but looking at the deeper reasons behind why these sort of behaviors manifest themselves. So I'm sure she's going to be very interested in this stuff. I'm going to move on quickly to one of the first questions that we had for you in the blurb. And I got this off from your website, Karen. You help people, correct me if I'm wrong, or reword it, look at the link between their minds and their bodies and rethink it. Maybe a real example of that would be people who have eating disorders or something, and you help them address that, but that's not the real issue. Can you go into that a little bit?
Oh, it's like drinking from a you asked that question, it's like drinking from a fire hose. I really have started to dislike the term mind-body connection. And the reason is because it assumes that there's two things that are separate that need to be connected. It's just one thing. It's just the mind-body. You know, what goes on up here, or I point to this, but we don't really know if that's where it is. But what goes on up here has a profound effect on our biology. And what goes on in our body has effect on what goes on up here. It's just all one thing. And So I saw this for myself. Actually, I kind of teased it out and understood it better for myself as the years have gone on. But, you know, going back to living out loud and all those masks and armor, you know, we have this fundamental, it's hardwired into our genes, approval. You know, it's hardwired into our genes for our survival. You know, you wanted to please Ankh and help make the meal, or you'll get kicked out of the tribe and exposed to the elements or eaten by wolves, right? Like, that is why we're all still here today as a species, this thing that needs approval, that needs that dopamine hit. Oh, I did a good job. Okay. You know, and the serotonin, you know, like this biochemistry that keeps us approval seeking. But in our modern age, it's kind of been bastardized, right? Because we have food and shelter, you know, most of the world has access to food and shelter and all these things, but that hardwiring is still there. And so it looks different for each one of us. But for me, it was when I was a kid, I don't want to be left behind. Like, yeah, there was, you know, childhood tragedies and, you know, the molester down the street kind of deals and whatever. But my biggest problems in my childhood was when my 3 big brothers would leave me behind, or my mom, you know, she had to go to work or whatever for some reason for that. And so I figured out, okay, I won't get left behind, or I made it up if people like me. And in order for people to like me, I learned I have to be funny. I have to be pretty. I have to be thin. I have to be witty. I have to be intelligent. I have to blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
right.
All the list.
So life becomes checking boxes in order to get liked, so I don't get left behind.
And are these the layers that you're covering the real you with, that you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, because I mean, I didn't want to take AP calculus, but I did because my brothers did, and in order to fit in with the tribe, I have to do that too. Like so many things. I didn't want to wear girls' clothes. You know, my mom used to joke that she had 4 sons and I was the only one who grew boobs. I didn't like wearing girls' clothes, you know, but then I'd get the 2nd grade teacher would send home messages like, Karen should really wear dresses. You know, she thought I was like, there's something wrong with me. So, okay, I'll put on the clothes. I hate dresses, but I'll do it. You know, that kind of stuff. Like, but then, you know, life goes on, and I could give millions of examples, but you get the point. And then you get married, and then you have kids. And then in order for the other moms to like me, I have to be the cookie mom. I have to over volunteer. So everybody else feels inferior to me. I have to do, you know, but none of it.
Pleasing, always pleasing, being loved, because you know. Marie, and none of it was me. You know, I love to watch my kids watch bugs. I didn't like doing travel sports. I didn't like, you know, keeping up, you know, putting them, I always joke, like to combine all the things, the Shakespearean pottery performance classes, you know, I didn't like that stuff. They didn't like that stuff, but come on, kids, we got to keep up. You know, we gotta play the game. The game didn't exist. So how do you do now with your kids? You have 3 kids? So
I do.
How do you do I mean, are you conscious about your old patterns and you don't want to?
Oh, my poor kids. Yeah.
Asking that question because I have.
Because
kids.
you have them. Well, that came later after the big, me seeing by the time, like just to finish that string of thought to answer Sab's question. By the time it was 2011, I had made myself so sick with box checking, with cognitive dissonance, with hiding behind these heavy masks, whatever. I had, you know, my whole life, eating disorders from the age of 11 to I remember the day it started and I remember the day it ended. And I had become so depressed and so suicidal and so sick. There was this moment where I was just like, I give up. I can't do it anymore. And it happened because I saw a neurotransmitter test. I was getting certified in that neuroadrenal testing, and I saw that I was flatlined. Wow. I was in a phase 3 adrenal exhaustion. My brake pads, you know, my parasympathetic, my sympathetic are your brake pads and your gas pedals of the nervous system. Everything was completely worn down. Whoa. And my mentor, the doctor who was mentoring me in how to do this testing and read the thing, said, dude, I see tests that are 50% better than this, and they're catatonically depressed and suicidal and won't get out of bed. Wow. You're like this bubbly thing. Yeah. You're pushing. It's like, you see what you're doing to yourself. And I did, like, it was in that moment I saw, I'm making myself so sick by living this way. But I didn't know it was innocent, because this is just how I had learned to live. And it was white noise. But when I saw that test, the noise came down to a loud roar, and I saw it. I'm a big faker, because I'm so afraid of somebody being disappointed in me. I'm so afraid of somebody not liking me. I'm so afraid of being left behind. But I couldn't do it anymore. And I saw I can't do it anymore. Yeah. So turning in the direction of living out loud.
Pivoting. Yeah.
Yeah. And being really afraid to feel somebody doesn't like me, or feel somebody doesn't, but it wasn't that bad. I just made it up.
Yeah. How did you do it? Did you do it by yourself, or did you get help?
I didn't have a choice. I mean, I help people now, but for me, it looked like I used to, come on, kid, hurry up. We're going to be late to school and the principal's going to be mad at us. After the surrender, it was like, oh, well, we're going to be late. She's not going to like us. You know, my husband said, you know, we bought our house on 2 incomes. You have to go back to work, because I just started my own business. And me going, before it would have looked like, oh yeah, I probably should. I hate that soul-sucking job that I work all night long for 16 hours and I'm exhausted, but he's right. And I don't want him to be scared and disappointed. So I'll do it.
Yeah. After
the surrender, it looked like, I can't.
No.
I can't. I won't. And yes, he was mad. And yes, there was a fight. And I would have thought that would have killed me before, him being disappointed in me. But moving forward, it was like, sorry. Oh, it's not that bad.
No. Yeah.
We all get over it and we figure out another way. So more and more I faced the fear of the feeling and saw it's fake. I'm making up this tragic thing it's going to be. And in 3 weeks, it was 3 or 4 weeks later that I started going, oh, I'm sorry.
Then,
I started to get better. And it was like retrospectively going, I used to drive at 4 p.m. picking my kids up from all these activities I had, and right, holding my head out the window and the radio blasting because I was so exhausted. And it was 3 or 4 weeks later, I was like, I saw the clock. I remember seeing the clock and going, oh my God, I'm not tired. And I haven't even thought about food. Like this white knuckle control I had on food and diet and eating disorders and all that stuff like that. Like the symptoms were gone, but only because I was like white knuckling my way through life. It was like, oh my God, I haven't even thought about it. And it was all from just being okay to not be liked and to disappoint people and to live out loud, to be who I was. I wanted to go to this, I don't know, it was like, get your 23rd DNA strand activated or some Sherry the Shaman thing, you know? And before I would have been like, found that really interested, but what would people think of me? I can't do that. That's too woo-woo. And then it was like, afterward, it was like, I'm going to see Sherry the Shaman and get my 23rd DNA strand activated. What? I don't know.
And how did that go for you?
Yeah.
How did that go for you? How did that go for you? Having your 23rd?
I don't know. I'm still waiting to find out.
Maybe it's happening in the background.
Yeah, maybe it takes a while. That was in 2012. Maybe it takes a while. But to answer back to your question, I can't
actually remember, but never mind.
Well, it was Marie-Louise, which you asked my kids. Yeah. It's the same thing with my kids. It's the same thing. Like, it's a great big experiment.
Yeah.
And it's so scary sometimes, but taking my hands. Oh my gosh. Like I wrote something on Facebook once recently where I saw, it's not my job to control their technology.
Yeah. Wow.
I had my hands on the wheel. Like, I got to control their technology. Oh my gosh, they're frying their brains or whatever. But then I realized it was by giving them unfettered access to their technology that my kids, I've given the car with Gianna one day and she's like, Mom, you got to listen to this guy. He sounds so much like you. I think you'll really love him. And she pressed play and I'm like, is that Alan Watts? My 16-year-old, I didn't find Alan Watts until I was in my mid-30s. She's like, yeah, he's great. I'm like, do you understand what he's saying? She's like, oh my gosh, it just makes me feel so free. Like life can be so effortless. I'm like, you're really understanding what he's saying.
Wow.
And then I found that week, oh yeah, I listened to that too. My 13-year-old and my 11-year-old, because they have access to Alan Watts and they wouldn't otherwise have. And they're starting to go, because they have access to the internet and because they read and watch YouTube and they're seeing this is bad for your brain, they're choosing themselves to put it down. And it's so cool that it's coming from them and not from me going, put down your phone, 2 hours a day only, blah, blah, blah. They are choosing this themselves. And that's so much more powerful than them doing it for me.
Of course.
So, yeah, I discovered Alan Watts a while ago, and I was pretty blown away. And he was, I mean, he made me think and realize that there's so much wisdom from so long ago. You know, we find a new guru every week, but it's all old stuff. And I mean, from what I understand, he brought some of the really wise ways of thinking about life from the East and tried to help us Westerners try and understand them. And something that you talk about is accepting what is, Karen, accepting what is to help our bodies heal. Can you say a little bit about that? What does it mean to accept what is, and how does that help our bodies heal?
Yeah, so the foundation of health. So we set ourselves up for the opposite of accepting, squirreling. The opposite of accepting what is resisting it. And resisting, whether it's our symptoms or somebody not approving of us or whatever, when we resist it, we go on red alert for it.
Mm-hmm.
So
what would an example of resisting something be, for example? Resisting someone's opinion, or?
Resisting tiredness, for instance. All right. So have you ever heard of, this is a good microcosm of how this affects us biologically. Have you heard of the ultradian rhythm?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Which means
okay.
I don't know what it
is. Most people have heard of the circadian, right? Your day-night rhythm.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. So
within the circadian, there's 90 to 120 minutes, like your sleep cycle. Okay. Yeah. So start to go to sleep, and then you go into REM, and then you go into that deep and healing sleep, and then it gets later, and then you might wake up and take a pee, or you might just go, oh, and then, you know, that's when everybody mapped the stars and the cosmos, right? Because this is a normal thing to wake up in the middle of the night or get to, and then it goes, you know, that thing repeats all night long, 90 to 120 minutes, and hopefully you get, you know, 4 or 5 of them in there. That same rhythm goes on during the day. So you wake up, say, at 7 o'clock. It takes a half hour for your cortisol level. That's going to be the highest it's supposed to be during the day. It's like nature's caffeine. It's giving you the energy to get up and go. So you wake up at 7, cortisol is highest at 7:30, and then you start to kind of dip off, and then around 9:30, 10, that's when you go for that second cup of tea or coffee, you know, because you're feeling a little bit tired, you know. And most people go, oh God, I'm tired. I can't do this. Got to go grab a coffee. Resistance. Okay, so I'm resisting tired. But do you know what happens in that trough? Do you know why you get tired?
Maybe good things.
Your DNA replicates, cells divide, cells clean up, take out the trash, hormone and neurotransmitter buckets fill up. I mean, there's so much that goes on. It's like this cycle. It's this cycle. And it all happens. Yeah, and it happens in that trough. And what do you think happens when your body has to do all that? Nature makes you tired. It wants you to sit your ass down and take a break so I can do my stuff. And that trough lasts about 5 to 20 minutes.
Wow.
And that's it. But when you resist it, you not only does your poor body have to do this, but now you go on red alert for tiredness, especially if you've been given a label like chronic fatigue syndrome or chronic Lyme disease, something where fatigue is part of it. Now you're on red alert for symptoms. So a normal biological process of feeling of fatigue now becomes, and then you set off a stress response. So not only does your body have to do all this stuff, now it also has to run from a tiger.
Right.
And so the dips feel dippier, and the recovery out of them takes longer, and it becomes pathological, or it feels pathological, like something's wrong. And then it perpetuates it, because now I'm on red alert for fatigue, because I can't, you know, I shouldn't be tired. Well, yeah, actually you should be tired every 90 to 120 minutes. I mean, you see this in the queue at the bank or the post office. Sometimes it feels more body, sometimes it's more cognitive. Like if you ever catch yourself going, you know, like staring out the window or whatever, that's a sure sign of a dip.
Okay.
And there's nothing that you have to do with it. It just means when you go ahead.
You know, no, it's just it's my follow-on thing. Therefore, what should we do to accept more?
Nothing.
You know?
Yeah, nothing. Just be with it.
Then again, if we don't know what's normal, we don't, you know, if we think it's not normal to be sleepy during the day, we think we've got a problem, whereas in fact we haven't.
Right. I mean, and why would we think it's abnormal to be sleepy? You know, that's just a belief. You know, why would we think it's abnormal to gain weight or lose weight or whatever? It's just
society,
you know,
also.
Exactly. It's
like you're lazy, you know, all this.
Yeah. Listen to the messaging. Fake it till you make it. Burn the midnight oil.
Give us an example of how you would put this into, how you would help someone to accept what is and heal their body. Give us a real example of someone whose body wasn't well and what you did and how they healed. Okay, well, there's my big example. And then, you know, 𝗠𝗿𝗄𝗏 and I did a study in 2017 because we helped, you know, we both had chronic fatigue syndrome and found our way out of it. And you're usually told it's like a life sentence. We don't know what causes it. We don't know how long it'll be, whatever. But when we saw, oh, it's okay to feel tired, like exhausted and depressed. And for me, my biggest symptom was I had dementia. Like I carried a sticky note pad around with me and called it my external hard drive. I couldn't remember anything. I would find myself in the mall with my 3 children, and it would be like I was waking up out of a fog and go, how did we get here? I couldn't remember. I would lose the ends of moments. I had like 0 short-term memory. And what did that do? That set me up for, my kids would be the only one at school without a Halloween costume because I didn't know what day it was. You know, it's constantly forgetting their lunch. I put their lunch on the bus, but not the kid, you know, like, you know, stuff like that. And that's why I was always constantly resisting this brain fog and dementia by covering up, because I don't want anyone to know I'm that mom who forgets. So I'd always do this. And then when the kind of surrender happened, I was like, all right, I'm just gonna be that mom. I'm just gonna be I can't do anything else. I can't do this. And it came back. So when we take people with chronic fatigue, you know, it's a label of exclusion because they can't find, you know, these are your symptoms. We can't find a particular reason. Here's some things that are off, but we're just going to call it this. We don't know what causes it. We don't know how to fix it. It might last a couple years. It might last the rest of your life. I don't know. So then people go on red alert for symptoms, pain or fatigue or headaches or migraines or whatever, not just chronic fatigue syndrome, whatever it is, because we're led to believe that we shouldn't feel pain. We shouldn't have headaches. We shouldn't, whatever. So people go and resist it. Life is a sexually transmitted terminal condition. It has symptoms. Getting rid of symptoms just ain't in the cards. It's not possible. Not having depression, not having anxiety, we're led to believe that, you know, health is a freedom from symptoms. It's not. No. I mean, could you say that pain is actually a useful indicator, a useful piece of information to do something, maybe?
As much as the check engine light on your car is useful.
Yeah.
It suggests you check your car engine.
Yeah.
As opposed to smash the damn light.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have pain. You live in a human body. You know, nobody gets out of this thing alive. It's but when you take your pain, when you have pain, okay, so I have pain, and now I have frustration, and I got to get rid of this pain on top because I shouldn't have pain. On top of that, that creates inflammation.
Of course.
You know, and it makes the pain worse and lasts longer and perpetuates it. But your pain's there anyway. Take it to lunch with you. You know, it's so you ask the question, how do I help people heal? I help people see that health isn't the absence of symptoms. Health isn't the absence of anxiety, depression, fatigue, whatever you're struggling with. And it just kind of, it doesn't mean this goes away. It just means there's more freedom with this.
Yes.
And in the freedom with this, the body, the terrain of the body gets sweetened for healing. And sometimes it happens very quickly. Sometimes it takes a while. But once you see the truth of that, the serum is in. Can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Once you see that and just have a glimmer of it, then you got the rest of your life for that to sink in on a deeper and deeper level. It still is for me.
Yeah. So you help them, you teach them to surrender, to let go of the idea of, I need to be perfect, I need to fix it, I need not to be tired, whatever. You help them to let go of this idea.
Yeah, I'll help them by just pointing out the truth. I mean, and help them inquire into their beliefs that just ain't true. and where that comes from. I mean, you mentioned the media and society. We're fed this belief that we're meant to live extraordinary lives. You know, we should be famous. We should be the head of our class. We should be skinny. We should be the thinnest one. We should look this way in a bikini. We should look. I mean,
all of that is based on comparison. If I don't not mistaken.
Yeah. Well, welcome to hell. You know, comparison.
Yeah, that's one of the words I've kind of eliminated from my vocabulary. I've got about 5 of them: comparison, success, failure, perfection, and imperfection. These, although I know they still exist, if I hear someone uttering them, like there's a flashlight goes on. I just said one of those words. I just said one of those words.
Yeah, and that goes back to freedom with, not freedom from, because I don't think it's on the table for any of us to not have comparison. We're human. Yeah. You know, I mean, it's. I think it's hardwired into us, that thing. But when you see that that's, you're not the one comparing, you're the one listening.
Yeah.
You know, you're not the voice in your head that's going, I should be, oh, I wish I would. You're the one listening. And a lot of my work is pointing to who you really are. You're not the voice in your head.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to talk more about that, but I just wanted to finish on something with this comparison. It's just occurring to me as we speak. I mean, if you look at birds, for example, you've got birds with fancy tails, and you've got the female checking out all the guys' tails and will choose, you know, the one that attracts her most, that she thinks will be the best nest maker. So, I mean, it's not that I don't think we should compare. It is inevitable. It's part of being human. But we take it far, far, far too far. And all the companies trying to sell us stuff to plaster more layers on love that. They love the fact that we compare.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can have the voice of comparison in your head, but not buy into it, not attach to it.
Yeah.
Not have to be, oh, like it's stinging me. I have to stop comparing. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
And it's such a joke. You see all these magazines with beautifully airbrushed faces on. It's funny. Men's magazines have pictures of women on. Women's magazines have pictures of women on. Why? I mean, it's like comparison. Look how beautiful you maybe could be if you follow our top tips for, you know, fake looking people. Anyway.
Yeah, I was working with a client who, that was a big problem for her, was comparison. You know, she would sit down at lunch with some friends, and like the voice in her head, oh, look how pretty, oh, look how thin, oh, she's eating a salad, I should eat a salad, you know, all that stuff. And I said, when you can see that that's not you, that voice in your head isn't you, you don't have to be extraordinary. There's freedom in the ordinary. And the dirty little secret is, once you get comfortable with the ordinary, your life starts to become really extraordinary with that freedom. And you are ahead of the curve. And you start to listen to those voices of your comparison and what they're talking about, their latest diet, and oh, I'm so fat. And you feel compassion for them, because that's not where the freedom is. You know, I work with them. I work with people with issues, and, you know, who've struggled their whole lives with diet and weight, and, you know, what's the latest thing. And it's really about, what is it that you think is at the end of this fight? You know, we're taught, another thing we're constantly bombarded with is, my peace and well-being is at the end of this fight. It's over this hill, right, Marie? Like when I win the battle of the bulge, when I get the right number on the scale, when I get the right number in the bank account, when I win the fight against guns, when I win the fight against gun control, when I kill Trump, you know, like then I'll have my peace and well-being. Then I'll have my peace and well-being. Well, when you approach life with that paradigm, there's always going to be another fight. You know, then there's going to be the fight to keep the number in the bank account or keep the number on the scale. You want to live your whole life with that? But when you ask the question, what is it that you really want? I just want to feel peace. You know, that's usually the answer. Once I get that number on the scale, then I can start, then my life can begin. Then I'll have my peace, then my life can begin. Why? I say just skip the middleman. You know, your peace and well-being is only here right now.
Right now, yes.
And another dirty little secret is, when you see that and start to reclaim your birthright, the peace and well-being in every moment, that life is now, life can begin right now, then in that peace and quiet, comes greater health. It comes, for the people that I was just talking about, a more natural way of eating. Yeah. You know, the birds don't look on Barnes and Noble and wonder what diet they should have. You know, I love to joke, the lion doesn't look at the antelope and wonder if it should have seconds, and the antelope doesn't wonder if it'd be rude to run. You know, man is part of nature, not apart from nature. The same thing that's in them is in us, and it comes through very powerfully when we don't buy into this. We don't know. Yeah. It's hard to do that. There. That's all my diet books.
Yeah.
So I always, it's about just reaching this wisdom from within. Just,
yeah. It's taking your foot off the fire hose, you know?
Yeah, I always think it's funny with the animal thing you said. Imagine, you know, a lion saying, well, I've been overdoing it a little bit recently. I think I'm going to go on a grass diet for a grass a grass cleanse for a month or something. It's just so ridiculous, isn't it? They know exactly what to eat. And I mean, I did want to ask actually, because Karen, you've got one of your sort of flagship programs is based, just stay with me here, is based on weight. It's called weight loss, but
no, weight less.
Weight less. From what I understand, from what I've understood, it's not really about weight, or it's helping people understand that they think it is, but it ain't. How does that work? What's the real solution? Right. But if we take someone with a weight loss, with a weight problem, you know, because a lot of people have them, a lot of people think that when they get rid of 10 kilos or pounds or whatever, then they can really be happy. It generally doesn't work. The diet
because then it's a struggle to keep. Right. It's because then there's a struggle to stay there. And a lot of times how they got there isn't sustainable for the rest of their life.
So what do you do? What do you do?
It's
called weight. What do you do?
You begin, it's the tagline of it is taking the weight of your body off your mind.
Okay.
Because that's where that powerful thing can come through. And it only makes sense because, like, okay, here, I'll geek out for a second here. I'll do this twice because it gets a little bit geeky. So when somebody has struggled with weight and diet and I don't know what to eat and what do I eat and which diet, and they just feel paralyzed, and like everything that goes in their mouth, they're just like, I don't know if this is right. You know, like thinking about meals all day long before their feet even hit the ground in the morning. It's like, oh, it's tragic. What's the number on the scale going to say about my value today? Right. And it's like, oh, 2 pounds heavier. Oh gosh, a pound lighter. Okay. I'm going to starve myself today to maintain that. Right. And it's like, I'll skip breakfast. I know what I'll do. I'll skip breakfast. Oh, I had a croissant. I was weak. Oh, I won't have lunch. I'll stop. Oh God, we're going to dinner tonight. I'll go online and look at the menu because I can't trust myself. All day long, every day. Blah, 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 blah. I know this because it was me.
Yeah.
All day.
All day long, every day. So that red alert, that hypervigilance about diet and my tragic back fat that's hanging over my pants and whatever, like all that, every day, all day is chronic stressful thinking.
Of course.
And what does chronic stress do? What does stressful thinking do? Your body doesn't tell the difference between running from a lion or having to go build shelter or find food and what's going on in your head. It's your primitive reptilian brain that goes, okay, something's wrong. Here's some energy to do whatever you need to do. I could see you're in distress. Here's some energy in the form of glucose. So the body releases cortisol, and one of cortisol's roles is to release energy from the cells in the form of glucose. But we don't need to run from a tiger or go find food or shelter, whatever. We just sit there in our chairs and our beds and ruminate, whatever. So our blood sugar goes up because we're not burning off that energy. Now your body is on your side. It has very strict parameters for blood glucose. So when it gets too high, insulin is released to bring the blood sugar back down to a normal level. So we're doing this and then this and then this and then this. And then we set ourselves up for insulin resistance and diabetes and all that kind of stuff. But when insulin is constantly being released to bring down the glucose from the release of cortisol, what does insulin tell the body to do? Store fat.
Yeah.
So this is the brilliance of this design of nature. When you're under chronic stress and it's long-term, because maybe years you've been ruminating about this whole diet thing, you know, and my body image and all this stuff like that. the body doesn't, the brain, the nervous system doesn't know it's about your back fat. It thinks there's a famine, there's something chronically wrong, so we better store fat because something's going on. My body's on my side, right? It wants to give me padding. So your body's going to store fat really easily. Insulin resistance is actually a kindness of the design, because your body's, going, okay, there might be a cold winter. We're in for it,
Let's die this year. Let's store some fat. Yeah.
So this is where acceptance of, the answer is never for me. The answer was for the age of 11 to the age of 37. Diet, exercise, what's the next thing? What's the next book? Whatever. All this thinking to control.
Yeah.
It was never there. The answer was never there. It was so far upstream when I just went, I'm just going to be fat. I was convinced that if I just gave it all up, I was going to be on, my friend says, the episode of My 300-Pound Life or whatever. I was convinced that if I took my hands off the wheel, that's what would happen. And it was when, oh, well, that's what's going to happen. I just can't do this anymore.
So you accepted the fact that you could be fat?
Yeah. Like,
that's it. You let it be.
Like, let it be, but the answers that I found out later, because then the natural way of eating and I was a natural weight, but nothing changed, but everything changed, and
so your weight didn't change.
Oh, my weight goes up and down like any human being. But it's not. But what I've come to see is our weight is really not our business. We're more messaging, right? Eat 5 small meals a day to keep your metabolism fast. Well, why is it my business that my metabolism is fast or slow? Like, what's wrong with a slow metabolism? If you put a squirrel in a laboratory and feed it a very calorie restricted diet, like just enough to keep it alive during winter, it's still going to gain weight. That's nature. And we think we're more powerful. We know better than nature. How do I know it's not my business? Because I spent 27 years making it my business and it didn't work and made me miserable and really sick.
Wow.
And when I accepted that nature's got this, I'm just going to have to trust that nature's got this.
Yeah.
Then I love to play with myself now. I say that tongue in cheek, but all these books aren't because I have to get somewhere. I'm not okay as I am. There's somewhere I have to fix this. Now it's like, I wonder what a fruitarian diet would feel like. I'll try that for 30 days, but there's no militantness about it. It's just like, what would that be like? It's fun. It's interesting. It's curious. And I trust that my body will know what to do,
Okay. Can I just throw a question out here? Susie's got a question. Or maybe it's a question, or maybe not.
Hi, Susie.
Hi, Susie. Food issues also crop up from chronic. Oh, I've covered you up, Karen. Sorry about that.
That's
Food issues also crop up. Food issues also crop up from chronic health issues, since many practitioners address diet first when you have an illness. That has been a huge issue for me. It's not about weight, but about, this food might make me feel bad. What food is causing the symptom, etc. Comment on that?
Well, again, the mind and body are not disconnected. I know Susie and I have had talks about this before. A great example of this is one of the women who John worked with, who was later kind of a helper on the program. She was sick for couple decades. I don't want to, it was like 26 years, let's say. And there's like this personality to people with, this hypervigilance and got into, and her brain had so inflamed her gut from that hypervigilance that she was allergic. She was sensitive to everything. Like there was like such a very finite amount of things that she could actually eat. If she walked into a department store and people were spraying perfume, it wasn't just food, it was environment too. She was laid out in bed with hives and fatigue, and she couldn't, the littlest thing set her whole system off, because when you're on red alert for symptoms and hypervigilance, you're so revved up already that the littlest thing will, throw you off. Well, once she saw what she saw, and that she could just be tired and she could just be in pain and she can just be sick and sit in her back garden and watch grass grow, and she still had value. That could be her life. It didn't have to be extraordinary. She didn't have to work so hard to get rid of this stuff. And once she started seeing that and the system started calming down, Then a year later, she found herself trying this. I want ice cream. I'm just going to have ice cream. Come with me. Nothing happened. I'm going to have cheese. I'm going to have this. You know, all this stuff that she couldn't eat before, and nothing she reacted to nothing. So she went back to her doctor. She got her food sensitivities and allergies retested, and they were all gone.
A year later? I mean, how long?
It was a year later. So, so I would say, I don't want to say the fallacy or whatever, because it's all comes from conventional medicine only thinks very linearly and one way. But when you make people paranoid about what they eat because they don't know, and they go even more on red alert for, oh, I got to do this and whatever, it doesn't let the system calm down. I'm not saying it fixes all food sensitivities and allergies. That's not what I'm saying. It's just like, it's not that is a very downstream answer. You know, I love to talk about not only my experience, but even in a more extreme version was 𝗍𝗂𝗏𝗍𝗏. You know, she's my favorite person to talk about. It's such a, you know, dying to be me, or cancer. She had a near-death experience, saw that her red alert for people's approval and not getting cancer and all the fears she was living when actually was a thing that was making her sick. It gave her cancer.
Yep.
And so she came out of her coma. Cancer's gone in 60 days without further intervention. She didn't change her diet. She didn't start an exercise program or actually she stopped meditating. She was meditating so much in order to prevent cancer. You know, see the difference? It's back to front. I love to meditate now. I used to meditate because I got to fix myself. If I meditate, I'll get, you know, Joe Dispenza's book. Oh my gosh. Have you read those books? I was like, I'm going to become supernatural. But now it's like, oh God, what will this do? You know, it's playful. It's back to front. I'm already okay. Your inherent value comes from the thing that's looking out of your eyes at me, that's looking out of my eyes back at you. The energy that animates all of us. That's where our value comes from. You could sit on the couch for the rest of your life, although you won't, but you could, and you're done. Check the box. You already have value. You've done it. Now, how do you want life to play with you? You know, your value doesn't come from being symptom-free or pain-free.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, we're moving to the end here. We were chatting earlier and you used a word which I loved and I scribbled it down.
What is
it? Procrastination.
Procrastination. Yeah, I can't.
We're talking about procrastination. We try to pronounce it. What's that about?
I was a good friend of mine, Luke Mathers. He lives in Australia. He taught me that one. That's when. So we all know procrastination. Procrastination is like.
Procrastination.
I love it because like I do that all the time. I might like my idea of how things ought to be is I should be getting more clients and writing more blogs and doing all this stuff. Okay, but I don't really want to right now. That's not where my motivation lies. But I really want to listen to this podcast. Or I really want to, you know, listen to this book, and it's all adding to my toolbox. You know, I mean, it might be like, you know, Southern colloquialisms that I can use on my things that I'll remember, like procrastination, right? It sounds Southern colloquialism, but, you know, funny things to say, but it's all forward moving. Procrastination.
Yes, absolutely.
We've got another question here. It's from Joe. Hi, Joe. And bye, Karen. Sorry. I don't know how to get the guest at the top of the screen. Anyway, what about when funds are tight? Yeah, I like it. What about when funds are tight, says Joe? We're exhausted, but we can't stop when our bodies are telling us to because the kids need looking after, we have to work. Is that just a case of accepting what is?
Yeah, of course it's going to be tiring to take care of your kids when you're already exhausted. The thing, it's nuanced, right? Is when you resist the fact that you're tired while you're taking care of I should rest more, you know, whatever.
Yeah. I should be doing this with a smile on my face.
Yeah, no, it's okay to be pissed off that you have to take care of the kids when you're tired. And it's being okay being pissed off or uncomfortable having to do something when you're tired and not trying to change it or tell yourself that you shouldn't be pissed off or, you know, that's where the resistance comes in. You know, you can just be present with your fatigue and what you have to do. And it doesn't mean you're going to, you know, love it. it just means you're human, and that's, you know, it's not time to rest now.
Yeah, but sometimes, like, I noticed for myself, sometimes when you accept the fact that you are tired, you become not tired anymore. It happens.
Yeah, and often it just lasts 20 minutes when you stop resisting it. It's like,
It may be like launching into something. As soon when you launch into something, you forget that you really, really didn't want to do it. You know, it's like sport. As soon as, if I just do sport, or even if I take a day to do sport, after 2 minutes, I think, why the hell didn't I do this 12 hours ago?
Yeah.
Your body loves action, and it just doesn't like, I don't know, it doesn't like the idea that something might maybe be a pain in the butt. But as soon as you're doing it, it forgets all that crap.
Well, the universe moves your bones, and it's totally separate from the voices in your head telling you when that should happen. You know, like we moved here a June ago, like it was a year ago in June, and I had put on like 10 pounds over the course of, you know, I didn't know why. I didn't think much of it. It was just like, oh, that's, you know, whatever. And there was this, I'll tell this quick story. So I told you about my neurotransmitter test, like that I did in 2011. That was kind of like the thing. Well, I tested my I've done it a couple times, but I was like beating myself up. I should be working out more. Why can't I get myself to go to yoga? Why aren't I writing more? And whatever, you know, like, gosh. And I just got curious because I had been doing testing for some other people. So I threw mine in the mix, and it came back same. I was like in a phase 2 adrenal exhaustion. I mean, just moved house again for like, I don't know, the 17th time in 19 years or something like that. And all this, you know, getting kids settled and all this stuff. And I was totally depleted again. But I didn't go, oh, I got to fix that. Or, oh, it went, oh, it was like, oh, I'm not supposed to be motivated right now. Oh, you know, of course I've been moving again. And of course my body's putting on padding to protect me. It doesn't know that I've just moved and there's nothing to be afraid of. You know, I keep seeing this deeper and deeper. My body's always on my side. And then one day, Sam, like, I just woke up and started moving. I just found myself, like, all that time I spent in my head beating the crap out of myself for not going. And then one day I just did.
You went.
Yeah. And it didn't come from motivating myself or, you know, doing affirmations, whatever. It's just the universe moved my bones in its own time in that morning.
It's time to exercise or whatever.
It's not my business how much I weigh.
Yeah.
It's not my business when it's time to exercise because I'm going to be moved. It's when I make it my business. And beat myself up that I tend to stay sedentary and don't feel like doing it because I'm keeping my nervous system run down, and I, you know, eat crap because I'm self-soothing. You know, when it's not my business, nature comes through very powerfully.
We've got all these options of eating all sorts of ridiculous stuff that we're not supposed to biologically, but it's a bit like as though we could choose the sort of composition of our blood or the type of stuff. Well, I guess we can choose what we take into our lungs when we smoke. That's kind of a weird modern choice. But the body knows what it's doing. The body doesn't need us to tell it what composition of blood to shove around the body and at what rate. It's just so ridiculous. Food should be the same. Like the lion doesn't go around eating grass. But we think we can control everything because we don't think we're like the rest of life on the planet. Is that right?
Yeah, well, we have a lot of very confusing choices, but I noticed that my tastes, when I'm in a peaceful state of mind, which is, you know, more and more often these days, I choose things that feel very natural to eat, you know, that are really close to how they grew or, you know, I just notice, but I don't think about it, you know, I don't deny myself the taste of certain things when you're in a peaceful mind. Like, eat a Dorito really slowly. Like, eat something really sugary and processed and enjoy it. Eat it slowly and see if you enjoy it. Like you were talking about mindfulness, like see if you really like it. It starts to awaken your taste buds and you taste the chemicals and stuff in them. Absolutely. But when you're in a fast cram it in, you don't even notice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like the difference between sitting in front of Netflix and eating crap, just the automatic thing. And I did this thing once, I can't even pronounce it. It was something, 𝗪𝗔𝗕𝗦. It's an Indian system where when you eat, you're not just eating, it's like you're honoring your body. You're taking in something which is going to become part of your body. So, you know, damn well appreciate it and make sure it's going to do you good. We're about the end. We've got about 5 minutes. Listen, Karen, I just wanted to ask you something a little bit about what you're doing. You've got programs that you do. You've got your weightless program. Weightless. I got it right. Tell us, if you want to tell us a little about that, then feel free. And tell us something a little bit different that would be interesting to know about the work you do. First, tell us about the work you do, and then tell us something that'll be interesting about that.
Maybe would surprise people.
Well, I would say I have another waitlist program coming up. Starts October 1st.
Okay.
It's 8 weeks.
I'm just going to show you a screen here for you. Yeah, go ahead.
It's an online program, or? Yeah,
just calls like this. You know, there's a call once a week and a Facebook page, and teaching videos and surprise guests, so people don't have to just stare at my mug for 8 weeks.
Is this it? If you go to GetCare?
If you go to GetCare at the top, sorry, that's my old site that I'm procrastinating on my new one.
Procrastinating?
Procrastinating, yeah.
All right.
But there's a tab at the top that has a weight. You might not be able to see it on that thing.
That should be.
The Creative Coaching Cafe is in front of it.
Don't worry, I'm getting there.
So the waitlist tab's at the top, and it gives a description of the program and how to sign up and all.
So it's an online program, or only on Facebook? Or?
No, it's online over Zoom, and then I use a teaching platform so people have access to videos
which one
if they want. Teachable.
Okay, yeah, it's amazing. It's really good. I've done that for English teaching sometimes. Weightless, take the weight off your body, off your mind. I think that would be amazing, and I love your approach. Absolutely love it. And I mean, it's not only, of course, you don't only do coaching people with weight problems. Your approach that it isn't about the specific thing works with anything, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, weight is just a Trojan horse for the same message. Chronic fatigue or health. The Foundations of Health program that John and I do. It's like you end up talking about the same stuff, but it works. We're so accustomed to fixing our symptoms, putting the Band-Aid over the check engine light down here with medication and courses and supplements and, whatever, filling the bucket. But the real work is upstream.
Absolutely. And what is it that you're going to tell us that's surprising about the work you do?
I just started writing a blog called "You People Are Crazy."
Okay.
And it's because, I think this way of thinking, and it's just the truth, it's just the truth to me, you think differently than 99% of the world. And I think what would be surprising is it's lonely sometimes, but when you've seen the truth of how things are, and this is the thing upstream that joins Catholicism and Buddhism and Hinduism and Islam. It's what is true before all of those, and people think you're a bit crazy, they don't know if you're kind of a posh hippie or but when people are ready to hear it, it just fundamentally changes their lives. I mean, and once the serum is in, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Once you see the truth of this inside out way of thinking and believing, it can be a bit lonely sometimes.
This would be a topic, and it will be topics for other shows that we do. But could you, this is ridiculous, could you in like a minute or two, have you got a way of describing what you mean by going upstream of all these systems that have tried to understand what life is all about, going upstream of what they're all trying to get at, upstream of Buddhism, upstream of Christianity or whatever?
Yeah. What
is upstream of that?
You can use a metaphor. I can use a metaphor. I know I don't have much time. Is it okay if you're going a little bit over?
We don't have a problem. Yeah.
Okay.
No.
It's like throwing paint on the Invisible Man. it's, if you look at the 10 commandments, you know, and not to just to use this as a metaphor and a teaching, you know, a teaching moment, not to promote anything. It's thou shalt, you know, thou shalt not. These are commandments. These are rules you have to follow in order to be okay. In order to not go to hell, you have to follow these rules. And now the Dead Sea Scroll, new interpretation of them, when you take the peace of God into your heart, thou shalt not. It's not efforting and thou shalt and white knuckle controlling my behaviors. It's, oh, when the peace of God is in my heart, you shall not dishonor your father and mother. You wouldn't even think of coveting your neighbor's wife or, you know, goods or stealing. It wouldn't even occur to you to do.
Absolutely.
It's not, it's just, and that's what I mean when I say, when we effort through life and we beat the crap out of ourselves and fool ourselves into thinking this is how I ought to be based on myth. You know, this prefrontal cortex thing we have is a great survival tool, and it makes life really interesting, but it also gets us into trouble. And it's also why we believe that we're not okay unless, you know, we have to be this, we have to be that, whatever. So what I mean by upstream is seeing that, what I said before, your value comes because there is a spark of divinity in you that's looking out of your eyes at me and out of my eyes at you. And that is enough. There's nowhere to go.
We're fundamentally okay right now.
You don't have to wait for life to begin. It's right now. There's nothing to do. Yeah.
And the universe has got our back, I guess you could say.
It will move your bones. Yeah.
I like that one. Moves your bones. I'm going to move my bones.
We're like little, like, you know, we play this drama. We're like God's little finger puppets. It's like, oh, Sam, I'm so upset. I'm so fat. Look at my back. It's just like, you know, it's we're just playing a part. That's like a whole nother.
Yeah.
That's like a whole other show.
We're at the end, guys. We're
yes.
around about an hour. It's been amazing.
Thank you so much, Karen.
Anything else you wanted to finish with, Karen?
Live out loud. You can either, if you want to hear more or have a chat, you can reach me on the other site, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, the old one, or because the new one.
You know.
If it's easier to remember, KarenDiMarco.com. Thank you.
KarenDiMarco.com.
Modern technology, yeah.
And do you have a page, a Facebook page?
Oh God, I have a couple of them, but don't. Yeah, you like there's 𝐺etCare, but that's going away. Don't confuse yourself. Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll call it a day. Of course, if you want to be a guest on our show, if you're watching this at some time in the future or even now, and you've got something interesting to share, we want to hear from you. Isn't that right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Karen.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you from, you know, like LA.
Delightful.
From LA to Paris, from Paris to LA. Bisous, bisous.
Isn't that cool?
Yes, yeah. 4 times.
Yeah, you've just got to be careful which side you go to first. If you both go to the same side, it's a big. Oh my God!
Crash.
Sab.
Oh.
Oh my God! Oh God!
That's why they're always so gentle. I noticed you lean in kind of gently and slow to see where you're going to go. It's like,
in case,
better.
Yeah.
Also, some people, they wait for about 3 or 4 air kisses, and the others they do 2. So you've got the phenomenon where one does 2 and then just does something else, and the others hang on the 3rd.
Yeah, but in Paris it's 4. You know, it's 2.
Oh, 4.
It's a lot.
What would happen if you lived out loud and just grabbed somebody's face and crammed your tongue down their throat? I mean, could you change the culture?
I don't know.
Well, in my experience,
It
has interesting results. Yeah. I'll try it this week in Paris, and I'll report back next week.
Please do. Yeah.
Please do.
Take a photo.
Yeah, and you do the same in LA. I'm sure they do strange. Yeah. The thing is, she might. That's it.
Thank you.
Another show done, and we're moving towards summer holidays for us, guys. We've got another show. We've maybe got 2 more shows before the holidays.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, I'll be watching. Have a ball.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Sam.
Here in Paris. Thank you, guys. And
thank you very much. And have a beautiful day.
Yes. Bye for now. Bye.
Bye.